As I am preparing your cards, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I am doing this reading from, the Gumbaynggirr people, and recognise their continuing connection to the lands, waters, communities and their culture. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Hello Leo, welcome to your June 2023 reading. I'm Lou from Empress Blue. It's Gemini season, Gemini representing your 11th house. And now this Gemini season is harking back to the Mars retrograde that we had in Gemini. That happened last year from, I think it was like the 31st of October, so the first day of November. Through till January this year, we had that Mars retrograde there. So anything that happens this month is a culmination of what the work that you did through that Mars retrograde. So it's really important to know that so you can reflect back over everything that came up, because what happens with Mars is the initiator of change, in the planet that initiates change, and Mars can be quite ruthless, quite destructive, hot-headed. He's a fiery planet, and he can sweep through and kind of destroy and cause chaos. He's very chaotic planet. He is the planet of war. And you do have this Tasmanian Devil card here, the Fighter card. So there may have been some dramas in your life back then, so the end of last year. Mars moved into Gemini in August and stayed there until March. So there was 7 months of this transit. So it could have been any time within that period. But now, as the Sun moves into Gemini, Mercury's in Gemini, we have that is sort of, there's a spotlight on it now. There's an opportunity now to really figure out what that all meant. So if you fell out with people, if you were fighting with people, particularly people in your social circle, your friendship circles, could be your work networks, because you've got that 11th house activation, that's going to become important now for you throughout June. And with the Fighter card here, there could have been a lot of anger. There could be a lot of anger there. There could be frustration. You may feel hard done by, or just like attacked. It could even feel attacked or taken advantage of, is what I'm really seeing through the cards here. But alternatively, that's not going to be for everybody. So if that's not the case for you, with Mars there in that 11th house, Mars is really bringing you the power to choose who you spend time with. So choose your tribe, choose your friends. It could have brought you a lot of Mars type people into your life, maybe to help you with your career, help you in your in the public light. There would have been a lot of changes for you in the people you're associating with, basically. But what I'm seeing through the cards for you, Leo, is that there is a possibility that you haven't really been seeing everything clearly. Now, I'm saying that because in the center of the reading we have the Five of Cups, and that's signifying that there's been a loss. There's been something or there will be a loss this month, something being taken away, feeling like, this man here, he's got no clothes on. He feels like they've taken everything, even the clothes off his back, kind of. That's the feeling I get from him. So taking advantage of that. Also underneath it, we've got the Six of Coins in the reverse, which tells me that, there's been a lack of harmony, a lack of balance between the giving and the taking in this situation. So most likely you have given too much, or someone has taken too much from you. You're feeling that. You're feeling like you've just given everything. You've even given the clothes off your back. You've given all your energy, put all your energy into this, and it hasn't worked out, or they haven't appreciated you, or they haven't taken you seriously if it's a work commitment. Yeah, but what the cards are saying is that this isn't real. It isn't, you're not seeing it clearly, because we have you coming into this reading with face your fears. And then in the environment we have get out of your head. And we have the Two of Swords here in the reverse position as well. So those cards together, they're a very clear message that there's an alternative perspective that you're not considering right now, Leo. So with the facing your fears card, there's fear that comes up, and fear, anger. If you're feeling angry, that's usually a mask for fear. It's not a mask. It's a secondary emotion. It's a protective emotion. Anger protects us. Anger protects our boundaries. So if someone has crossed your boundaries, either by taking too much or not giving enough, which is a boundary violation in itself. The anger is really telling you that boundary has been crossed. You're feeling vulnerable, and that's because there's a fear here. And most likely, the fear is about a loss of some kind. You're scared that you're going to lose something. Whether that's a person, or a position in your employment, or a position in status, or friends. It could be friendships. It could be a friend that you're worried about. It'll be different for everybody, okay? But what the cards are saying though is that underneath that is that there's a fear. There's a fear of that loss. And if you notice this card here, it comes with a key. And so when we face our fears, that is the key to the solution, okay? So when we ignore our fears and we continue to offer action that comes from that fear-based place, we continue to perpetuate the situation. So especially if this is very emotional for you, Leo, running away from it or not looking at it, even if you're not running, you're just purely not looking at it, with the Two of Swords, that I feel that very strongly that there's an unwillingness to look at the situation clearly, to consider both sides of the situation. Possibly the other person has a valid point, and you definitely have a valid point. You have a valid reason to be angry. How you're feeling is valid, but possibly the other person involved, or the other situation, there's validity on both sides, and it seems to me there's an unwillingness to look at both sides of the equation here, because of fear. There's fear here. Maybe it's fear that you'll have to admit you're wrong, or maybe it's fear that that you've allowed somebody to take advantage of you, or maybe it's fear that you'll lose this person, and so you've allowed them to, because you're scared that you'll lose this person. Whatever it is for you, that's something that you need to work out, as the cards are telling you. So getting out of your head, because your head is telling you all these stories, okay, Leo? Your head is telling you, and that's why the Two of Swords is here in reverse. Your head's telling you a whole bunch of stories, and none of them really are the truth, okay? And we all do that, Leo. We all, especially when things aren't going well, we sort of create these storylines, these narratives around the situation, around the other person, around ourselves, that meet some sort of, perspective that we've got that comes from our expectations, or comes from what we've experienced in the past, or and we weave these stories. And so this is what's telling you, this situation isn't what you're perceiving it to be. This is a storyline that you're weaving around it, that you're telling yourself at this time, which is, that's the quality of Gemini. And Gemini can be so powerful in that way, because we can tell stories that weave experiences into our lives that we want. But when it is out of control, or when it is out of balance, we can weave stories that we don't want just as easily. So that's it's looking at the stories you're telling yourself, Leo, throughout Gemini season, and especially bringing it back to last year, at the end of last year with that Mars retrograde, what really happened, what learning was available to you, and how you have grown from there. Because yet these storylines aren't, they're not accurate. They're not an accurate reflection of the reality. And until you actually look at the reality from an objective perspective, they're going to continue to damage you. They're going to continue to make you angry and make you hurt, make you feel sad. Okay? Because what I'm seeing here as well is there's potential here. You know, the Ace of Coins is here, but it's in reverse. So the potential is not growing. There isn't solid ground because of the way you're viewing the situation. Okay? And I can tell also by the Four of Cups over here as well that this mindset, this blockage, whatever is blocking you from actually looking objectively at the situation, Leo, you know, this man here in meditation, he's looking at these Three of Cups and he's not seeing the Fourth Cup, if you see that on the card. The Fourth Cup being that Ace of Coins in reverse. There's something you're missing. Okay, there's something you're not seeing. So there is a need to gain more clarity there and to gather more information. Again, Gemini is a really great sign for gathering information and gaining clarity. Gemini is the sign of clarity. So for the month of June, especially the first 3 weeks of June, I recommend you do that. You use that Gemini energy to gather as much information as you can and question and be curious and remain curious. Have that curious energy, that curious nature that allows for there to be two sides to the equation. Okay, and if all else fails, you know, we've got the Four of Swords here as well. So just taking some time out and resting your mind. So getting out of your head is in meditation. The Four of Swords is our card of contemplation and meditation and rest. So there may be a need to rest, especially as the Sun moves into Cancer at the end of the month, so on June the 22nd, and then Mercury will move in there on June the 27th. So the last portion of the month, that is activating your 12th house. Now your 12th house is the house of rest. It's the house of solitude. It's that house where we step out of the world and take time out to be with ourselves and to be with the divine. So that's that Four of Swords energy as well. And that can really help you to get out of your head and to shut down these storylines. Meditation, meaning thinking of nothing, can open up and allow space for a higher perspective to come in, you know, for information, downloads, and just a recalibration of your system. Because this isn't a very pleasant energy to be in. You know, if you're feeling really sad and like a loss, and you're feeling angry about that too, which is completely valid, because like I said, there's been an imbalance of the give and take in this situation. But if you're not able to pull yourself out of that, then just allowing yourself that rest will be enough to shift you vibrationally, to allow a new energy to come in so that you can turn this around, this situation around, and turn this Ace of Coins around. While we're talking about the Six of Coins in reverse, we also have this Generosity card. Now, the Ocean Generosity card. Now, she speaks about being generous, but she speaks about being generous. It's about that reciprocal give and take. So it's not about just giving and giving and giving and giving everything you've got, giving the clothes off your back. It's about what we put out, we receive back. So it's about that give and take, that beautiful harmony between two people or more, or between yourself and your own higher consciousness, you know. When we're blocked off from that energy, when we feel that there isn't enough, or we feel like we've given too much and our cup is empty, that's when this fear creeps in, okay? Because if you are feeling like you're running on empty, then you don't have enough to give to other people. And that's where that can be really scary. If you don't have enough, you know, and I'm sure everybody has felt this at some point in their lives, when they're feeling on top of the world and you feel like you can just keep giving and giving and giving to other people because there's an unlimited supply of that energy because you're feeling so good. And then when you're not, it feels like you need to go inwards and you need to pull back and you can't give to other people because you don't have enough to give. And what that means is that you're not in alignment enough with yourself because you're not filling your own cup. You're not filling your own well by replenishing, but just so there needs to be this internal replenishment that is happening before you can give back to other people. So that give and take is really important for you this month, Leo, to look at. Particularly, I think it's really important we talk about the Venus retrograde that's coming up. That's happening next month, okay? But Venus will move into your sign. This is happening in your sign, Leo, so it's huge. When something happens like this in your first house, in your own sign, it's going to really hit home. It's going to hit who you are as a person. It's going to be your character. It's going to be your personality. It will be about your body. It will be about your self-image, your self-worth, your self-esteem. All of that's going to come into focus, particularly in July, because that retrograde will start on the July 23rd. So we'll talk way more about that next month. But for this month, Venus will be moving into your sign on the 5th of June, and Mars is there as well. So there's a lot of energy coming back to you and who you are. And I love the Hermit card here as well. That's that coming into that replenishing well within that I was talking about. This having to be able to fill your own cup. And that comes from, loving yourself. Yeah, loving yourself first. And then that love fills up that cup and overflows and out to other people. And then other people are loved as a natural consequence of that love that you have for yourself. I know this is something that's talked about a lot. Self-love, is talked about a lot in the spiritual community, and it can get a little bit old. So I don't want to lecture you about that. I'm sure you have heard that lecture over and over again, but this month will be about that kind of coming home to self. That hermit is that solitude, and especially I think when the sun moves into the 12th house, you will want to take time out to be with yourself, to look at all of these things that come up with the Venus retrograde coming up as well. Venus retrograde in your first house is the ultimate self-care package. It comes into to create harmony. Like Venus wants harmony, it wants joy, it wants love, it wants you to feel all of those really beautiful, pleasant, abundant feelings, and it's taking that supercharged energy to self. Okay, so what you'll find will happen is there'll be a magnification of whether or not you are in harmony or out of harmony with the love you have for yourself. And you will see that in terms of the dialogue that you're speaking of yourself, the way you treat yourself, and also your self-image, your body image. And it's a good time as well to do like a makeup, like an overhaul. A lot of you will just feel the impulse to change your wardrobe, to change your makeup routine, to change your, that kind of stuff. Is what you look like, how you present yourself to the world physically, but also your personality and your character that you present to the world. And Venus wants to bring more harmony there, so more love. Venus wants you to love yourself, and that's what this will be about, this transit will be about. If you're having trouble with this transit as well, I can see, you've got the 9 of Wands and you've got the 10 of Wands. It's feeling like that this is heavy. This mindset, this mentality, this fear that you're fighting for. It's like you're fighting for your limitations, or you're fighting for your you're fighting against. It could even be fighting against yourself. If you're really, part of you is really hating on yourself, and part of you wants to follow this Venus retrograde influence of loving yourself, and there's like this disconnect, this disharmony within yourself that will come up this month for you as well. And it's really heavy, the 10 of Wands. It's really weighing on you, and it's calling out for your attention. It really is calling out for change. Because, yeah, so with the Nine of Wands as well, the Nine of Wands and the Ten of Wands here, it's like you're trying to protect yourself. The Nine of Wands is a very protective, defensive energy. And sometimes that's good, you know, sometimes we need that healthy boundary in place. But it's about watching that boundary. So, like I said, with the anger card, there's like this anger that is protecting that boundary. And there's that Nine of Wands, that really protective boundary of this is who I am, and you're not going to cross these boundaries, which is a really powerful place to be in, Leo. But you've got to watch, because strong boundaries can be toxic as well. If there's no flow, if nothing can flow through it, you know, if you see this person, they're sitting on top of a mountain and they're making a lot of racket, a lot of noise, making sure everyone knows not to come near them, okay? So that's what these defense mechanisms can do. They can scare people off before they even get to know you. And if that's what's happening, you know, I'm not saying that's happening for all Leos, but if that is what's happening, then that's a concern, and that's something that the Venus retrograde will be bringing up, will be addressing for you. Because the other thing that's happening as well, so when Venus moves into your first house on June the 5th, okay, she'll be opposing Pluto. And Pluto, just for that first week, there'll be this opposition, this Venus-Pluto opposition that can be really powerful, okay? Pluto and Venus in an opposition can really transcend how we relate. And for you being in that first house, seventh house, this is really about how you relate to others, how you relate to your intimate partners, or those one-on-one connections, those people that are really close to you, those people who you have to be vulnerable with, who to let in. And this here, Nine of Wands, Ten of Wands, that's not vulnerable. That's like holding yourself apart from that vulnerability. So the facing your fears, again, that's a very vulnerable place to go to, and it can be quite challenging. But like I said, that we have this leap of faith card here. Now I think, and this is a 22, so 2's being connection. It breaks down to a 4, so 4 being stability, okay? So taking that leap of faith, and if you recognize on this card, she's got that web underneath her. She actually has a support system underneath her that she may not even be aware of. You know, she's not even looking down. She's looking up, and she's weaving her magic while she's walking along this tightrope. But if she fell, she would be caught. And that is that ultimate trust in the universe, that ultimate trust. And knowing that the universe always has your back, you'll always be caught, you can't get it wrong. Nothing you do is ever wrong. The mistakes are only things that we can learn from. And that's a part of that loving yourself process, you know, and facing your fears, taking that leap into your fears, taking that leap into this evolution that's taking place with that Venus-Pluto opposition. You know, that could feel really intense for you, but taking that leap in there and facing your fears, turning around to face any uncomfortable emotions that come up for you this month, Leo, that will really help you to move through this energy. So let's get some clarifying cards. Clarify, face your fears. We got the High Priestess, the Five of Wands, and the King of Swords. So the High Priestess is that part of you that has your own back, that part of you that no matter what will always catch you. There's the web underneath, okay? That internal part, the Hermit, that internal part of you that will never let you down, even if other people have let you down. If this is a very painful month for you, Leo, and you've had if there's problems that occur in your intimate relationships with that opposition, or there's a lot of 11th house activity, so it could be your friendships, your social circle. If those kinds of things come up for you, trusting that you have your own back, trusting that you will always catch yourself if you fall. That's that high priestess energy, right? And because I think what you're scared of is not being good enough. We've got the 5 of Wands, and it's like, it's not being good enough is not the right words, but it's like of not being perfect. It's like you're scared that you're not going to be perfect enough. But that's a mindset, again, with the King of Swords here. That's a mindset of what is perfect. Everybody's definition of perfect is different, and nobody's perfect, and nothing can ever be perfect. And so there's that, I mean, we know that on a conscious level. I'm sure that you know that on a conscious level, but it's about knowing that internally. That's that underlying belief system of that I'm not perfect. And those are the fears that you need to face at this month. And I think that will lead you into that Venus retrograde, where we're looking at yourself, looking at your character, because that hits every part of you, right? It hits that the character. I'm not a perfect person. I don't look perfect. My body isn't perfect. My habits aren't perfect. Trying to always be perfect, and then not meeting that expectation on yourself, that will keep you in this loop, in this cycle. And if that is you, if you resonate with that, just remember what I said at the beginning of the reading with the 2 of Swords, is that that's not reality. That's a story that you're weaving around this situation, that you need to be perfect, or that you could even be perfect, or that it's even possible. That's holding an impossible standard for you to meet. And I think for you, Leo, more than any other sign next month in July, you'll be looking at the standards that you're forcing yourself to meet, or trying to force yourself to meet, that are unrealistic and possibly will never be met. And maybe nobody in the world could ever meet them. And yet you're holding that bar, you're holding that standard, and that's causing you a lot of angst. And it doesn't have to be that way, it doesn't have to be like that. There is an opportunity this month, or next month, the next couple of months, with Venus there, to unravel a bit of that and soften. I'm just feeling like there's a need to soften the way that you treat yourself, to soften that, and possibly, even now, as I'm feeling into this fighting, this anger, this Tasmanian Devil card is like talking about how you're treating yourself. It might not even be another person you're coming up against. It could be how you're treating yourself, and there's a need to soften and resolve some of that anger that's coming out for you. Resolve the fear that's coming through. That's that fear of not being perfect. And for get out of your head, we have the Moon, the World, wow, and the 3 of Swords. Okay, 2 of Coins in reverse on the bottom of the deck as well. So this storyline that you're telling yourself is blocking so much abundance for you. And when I'm talking about abundance, I don't mean necessarily financially. It could be financial, if this is a self-worth issue, there could be finances that have been affected as well. We've got the Queen of Coins on the bottom of the deck, and that I was sort of reading that to reference the Taurus energy that we've been through last month, which we haven't actually talked about. But last month, there was a lot of energy in your 10th house. So this could be about your career, it could be about your job and your finances. But when I'm talking about abundance here, what I'm really talking about is abundance in everything. Is that abundant energy, that feeling of limitlessness. Okay, so these storylines that you're telling yourself, they're blocking you from all potential. Okay, with the two of Coins on the bottom in reverse, the Ace of Coins in reverse, there's something just not moving forward that's within your sphere, it's within your realm, that could move forward. and it just isn't moving forward because of these narratives that you are that you're just spinning, and there's this creating this separation with Three of Swords, this separation from what you could possibly achieve. And I think that you're not even aware of it with the moon there. We're not even really aware of it. It's so unconscious, even like subconscious programming, subconscious things that are happening within, on such a deep level. But with the world there, it's telling us this is time for this to end. This could be something that's affected you for a very long time, and now where you're at this point where you're able to see. So these cards wouldn't have come out on the table if there wasn't an opportunity for you to turn this around. So you're in a position now to be able to see that how you're viewing reality could be different. There is alternative perspectives available, and you can see that now, or you have the ability to see that now if you stop and think about it and face these fears, and face your anger about not receiving what you feel like you deserve. The Six of Coins in reverse here. This is a lack of deservedness, I feel, for you. But I think that there's a portal of energy here for you over June, and I feel specifically for July. For the next 2 months, there's an ability to end this chapter, this portion of your life that's been ruled so much by this perfectionism and these narratives, and to step into a new foundation, a new space. Clarify what's mirroring you this month, Leo. Self-love, of course. There's that Venus in your first house, okay, slowing down to move into that retrograde next month, self-love. So it will be really obvious to you for the whole of June where you sit on that continuum of love for yourself. So that is because you're being prepared to do that work when Venus moves retrograde next month. So this month's all about taking notes, taking stock, figuring out, if you do that on a mental level, but even I would say just like write things down when you notice patterns, when you notice like thought patterns or action patterns, like what actions are you taking that show your self-love, and what actions are you taking that show yourself the opposite to that. And taking note so that when Venus does move retrograde, you can actually sit and do that work properly with the energy she'll offer, that really potent energy. Because for you, Leo, whilst Venus is about relating to other people, unless you can relate to yourself, first, especially with it being in the first house, it's going to be all about self. And that then, like I said at the beginning, that flows out to other people. So this work will be about your relationships and your intimate marriages and your intimate partners and all of that. But it'll be coming from the angle of loving yourself first. And if you are really low in self-love, you will notice that through the events that happen this month, that will be reflected to you. So as you're moving through June, if there's a lot of disharmonious experiences, if there's a lot of negative feelings and emotions come up for you, think about what that's trying to tell you about how you love yourself. What else is being reflected to Leo this month? And we got the middle road and focus. Interesting. So that's what I was talking about over here, with that there's a need to really get real with yourself and with these your version of reality, basically, and that being where you're focusing your attention. So you will notice as you navigate the events that come throughout June, it's like, how much attention am I giving to this, or how much attention am I giving to that, and that will be all reflected back to you. So you can choose your focus, but But like I said, I feel like this is a preparation month for you, Leo. Actually, I feel like, yeah, this is all about laying the groundwork, laying the foundation for all the work that will happen for you in July. I think July will be a big month, maybe not externally. There may not be a lot that happens externally, but I think on the internal level, there'll be big shifts for you in July. And this month's all about like preparing, planning, and figuring out what needs to be done. So again, like I said, you know, you may want to journal and jot down even just a few dot points about where your focus generally lies, where you tend to focus. You tend to focus on one storyline over another more, and really working that out and writing it down so it's clear. When you come to do that work in the retrograde period, it's clear what you're trying to achieve. And then with the middle road, it's you know, about the middle road's all about that we're like I don't know what the opposite of perfectionism is, but the opposite of perfectionism, you know, when you're not trying to be perfect, but not beating on yourself either. It's finding that middle ground where you don't have to be either extreme. I feel like for a lot of Leos, you swing between the two extremes, and I think it's part of the Leo character anyway, because Leos, they naturally have a need to be loved by everybody, and admired and adored, and that's nothing, you know, that's a positive quality, Leo. I'm not saying that in a negative way, because through that channel, Leos, they inspire, they give so much back through that. They're so generous in giving through that channel of gaining people's attention and gaining that admiration, but when that's out of balance, and when love is out of balance, or love for self is out of balance, then you shift into that perfectionist mindset, and a bit of both, maybe swinging between the two, a lot of self-loathing. So there's a need to find that middle ground here, that middle road, and where you are in that continuum of that, you know, will be reflected to you in the environment and in the experiences you engage in throughout June. So take note again and see which extreme, which end of the continuum you're sitting on for next month, to do that work next month. Okay, that's your reading, Leo, for June. Thank you for going on this journey with me, and thank you for letting me be a part of your creative journey. Please do, if you feel like doing so, please do comment and tell me what's been going on for you. So it helps me to gain context in my readings, and to connect with you energetically, and please do like this video and subscribe if it resonated with you, so that really helps me as well. And I'm just grateful for your time, and I'll see you again next month. Thank you.